Okay, we're starting with a project to make an old window frame into a picture frame holding multiple pictures. So I've got two that I bought today, and you can see that these are fairly old windows. They have glazing on the edges, and I've already begun on a few of these windows to take off the glazing. Since the windows are old, a lot of the glazing is peeling. That's made it a little easier. I'm using wood chisels to get the glazing off. And actually I have a second window here that previously I've done a little bit of work on. There are some metal edges in here and some other hardware that I had already previously taken off. So I have a second one. I don't know if I'm going to need it or not. It depends on how much time it takes to do this project. So this is step one. So obviously I have to get out the last three windows. Oh, I was also pretty lucky that I got some with no broken glass. Most of the time when you buy these, there's a couple breaks in them. Now, on the other hand, if you get some with broken glass, you can replace it. Newer glass is going to be a little nicer than the older glass sometimes. So we'll have to see how that looks in the end and see if I decide if I want to have new glass cut, or I'm hoping I can use the older glass and everything will look great. So more later. So here's what happens if you're a little too rough on the glass when you're trying to take the glazing out. I managed to get the first three windows out without breaking any, but this one I did break. So I'm going to have to replace it, but remember that the old glass is going to be a little more breakable than newer glass, so you do have to be really careful. I will also note that the inner mullions here, you have to be pretty careful with those as well, because once you start taking the glass out and the glazing, they may appear a little bit weaker, because the glazing and the glass actually do support the window and help to make it stronger. So just be careful, and looks like I'm going to have to get at least one more piece of glass. So that's all. A few more notes. Where I got this. Actually, I got both of these window frames at a little place that sells a lot of used windows and doors. There's a bunch of places like the Habitat for Humanity restores will often sell items like this. Or if you can find somebody just redoing their house, sometimes they'll be getting rid of old windows, and you can sometimes pick some up that are suitable for frames. One other note about the glazing. I've definitely had people in the past recommend that you can use heat. A small torch on the glazing will soften it so that it can come out easier. In the case of older windows like this, I wouldn't recommend that. Most of the time these windows are pretty old and probably have lead-based paint on them, so I would not use an open flame on them. And later on, sanding them, I'll be pretty careful about that too, assuming that there is lead paint on this. So all the glass is out now. Unfortunately, I broke two of the pieces, so what I may do is steal some from the other one, take out the stuff holding those windows in, and take two of them to finish this one. I've also trimmed the edges a little bit to make it a little lighter, and it's about equal on all sides now, so need to let it dry a little bit. The wood in the middle is a little damp. The window, when I bought it, had been outside for a while, so I'm going to let it dry out and then paint it. Okay, next updates. I have sanded the ends of the wood where I cut it with the table saw, wetted it a couple times and sanded it again, so it's pretty smooth now. Down where there was a gap in here, I've filled with spackle a couple times. I just did it one more time, and now I have to do some sanding. Once that dries, and that'll be a few minutes more. And last of all, one of the things I did is I bought one of these cool sanding blocks, which actually goes very well in the edge here, trying to sand smoothly in there. So that's all now. So I've got the frame painted front and back with just a standard paint, nothing particular about it. I splurged a little bit and I got some new glass pieces cut so that I didn't have to worry about getting the old ones clean and getting all the old paint and such off. That was probably a cost of about $20. So you see here what I've got is the glazier's points, and these are what I'm going to be using to hold things in. Initially I was planning to put them on to hold the windows in, and then put the mat and everything over and then put another set of glazier's points, but I found that the points actually showed through the window, so I'm just going to put them on once you know, the mat and the picture and the backing is done. Now the backing, I didn't do anything special. I just went out to a hardware store, bought a big piece of masonite, and cut it to the right size. So I've got 6 different pieces here. So note that this is not all guaranteed acid-free, you know, museum quality stuff. So the glass is not special glass. That would have been about 4 times the cost. So I just decided to use regular glass because I'm just printing pictures from the computer. I am doing it on photographic paper, but I'm not doing museum quality stuff, so I can always replace the pictures at a later time. And here we have a brand new mat cutter that I bought because I can't cut straight lines freehand, so I got this to be able to do that. I've got a couple different colored mats here that I'll be cutting to put in. And last of all, I've got some little corner pieces that I'll be using to hold the pictures in place. Rather than trying to get acid-free tape and set up a hinge, this is another way that that I learned to do that will hold the picture in place without putting any actual adhesive on the picture. Okay, moving right along, I've got 4 of the 6 panes done, and I'm just going to go through right now, putting a piece of glass in the last one, and I'm doing it with a cloth. Try not to get any fingerprints on it. Place in the mat, and you'll notice on the mat there's all kinds of lines, and you can see the photo corners here that I used to hold it in place. You want to do that so that the pictures can move a little bit and expand and contract. Don't tape them on all sides, but you do want, you know, it's just an alternative to doing the hinge with the special tape, the acid-free tape that I couldn't actually find in any of the local stores, so this is another way to do it. And then placing in the backing, and then I'll put in, like you see on the other one, I put in some glazier's points, 6 on each one, and I'll do that on this one, and then we'll be almost done. So here we have the finished product. I must say I'm very happy with the results of this. All the mats and colors came out looking great, and I will say that my daughter, who is one of the people in this picture, did help me come up with the color scheme. I will also add that I did put some paper backing on it just to make it look a little more professional. And this is it, we're done. If you have any questions, drop me a message and ask.